Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Israel, the game is World of Warships, and welcome once again to Shards in Domination Mode. It's good, isn't it, not to have to do a video covering some controversy or other, especially after the recent Christmas convoy blow-up in Europe. Nope, one straight replay cast coming up today, and hallelujah for that. This is the Fiji. It is the Tier 7 British light cruiser Crown Colony class, although actually that was a very pretty cloudscape scudding overhead. No, this is the Fiji, particularly her bow, and yes, it's in Ocean Soul camouflage. Yes, I bought some Santa boxes. Yes, I got a lot of Ocean Soul in them. No, I didn't get any premium ships, more's the bloody pity. That's my luck for you. And yes, this paint job does have some unfortunate implications if you put it on a Japanese destroyer, but it's a good camo, 100% bonus XP, so hey, you know what? Suck it up, I need to level these ships. I mean, I've seen a Minotaur used to do horrible, horrible things to destroyers, so yeah, I kind of want myself some of that action. It's always good to play the other classes from time to time, get the other perspective. This, however, is Shards in Domination, and I'm over on the western side, so my initial focus, of course, is Point A. I've got a choice here. What I can do is I can run down the 2-3 line down to that island around about F2, F3. Then I have to make a decision. I can either break left if there's no enemy activity around A. Ha! Fat chance of that. Because, let's face it, A is the closest cap point to the enemy starting point. There's always one cruiser or destroyer, at least, who decides to squeak through that narrow channel in G4 and grab some early cap points, some XP. My other option is to do what I'm doing at the moment, run down to the west, go round the 2 line, maybe even as far west as the 1 line if I want to be really paranoid about detection, use the islands for cover and get close to A before springing a flanking ambush. Of course, that plan will go out the window once radio position finding comes in, unless my happy little friend Hawken here in the Mayhan, or his substitute, is willing to play decoy and stay closer to the enemy than I am. Again, fat chance, because, you know, sector bearing, torpedoes, fun times. Yeah, right, that'll be interesting. We have our first contact, however. It looks like a Leander has dared the gap, although he's pulled up slightly short, possibly because he has seen Håkan in the Mayhan, courtesy of that appalling 7.5 kilometre detection radius, and decided to take care of him rather than risk some torpedoes to the face. Håkan does the only sensible thing in the circumstance. He pops his smoke, dives behind the island, and sends a few 5-inch high X rounds downrange just as a fare thee well. Not that I think he actually hits anybody, but sometimes it's the suppression more than the fire that counts. And speaking of fire, I'm now around the corner, I've just been detected, and I'm barrelling straight under the guns of 2 light cruisers, both of whom will be more than happy to introduce my citadel to the joys of armour piercing. Luckily, before the Leander can get his guns round, I both pop my smoke generator and use the island for a bit of tactical beaching. Take a shot along my last fire solution on the Leander, get some hits, more rounds into the Nuremberg. I'm still concealed, of course, and oh, is that a broadside you're giving me? Talk dirty to me, Fraulein, why don't you? Goddamn teasers. I don't know what it is about the German light cruisers. I never seem to have any luck trying to get into them with British 6-inch. Maybe it's just my appalling aim. Pop some last shots from the stern guns into the smoke, don't really expect to hit anything, and I'm not disappointed. So, the Nuremberg is concealed up in smoke, the Leander is trying to make a fight of it with 1, 2, 3 heavy cruisers, and possibly a battleship. Yeah, that's going to end well, especially since he's broadside on, and while he's busy regretting his poor decision-making, I am backing up, getting some serum, and manoeuvring to tiptoe round the flank. If the Leander decides to do the sensible thing, slam on the gas and scuttle west, then I'm going to be in a good position to intercept him, and, well, the Leander's bow, I believe, is overmatched by 6 inches. gunfire, so I can still get some pretty juicy penetrations. I'll have 12 guns to his 4 after all. I'll probably take a beating myself because, well, if he gets the guns round it'll be a little more even, but happily for me that does not turn out to be an issue because the Furataka decides to bag himself first blood and quickly drops the Leander with a well-placed 8-inch broadside. So, we still have the Nürnberg to deal with. He has just completed capping A, and enemy reinforcements are finally remembering what the W key is for and starting to scuttle into the zone themselves. Not a problem as yet. That Pensacola's in midfield at B, he's still out of the fight, and oh yeah, that's 2 battleships coming round to the south. Immediate concern, however, is the Nürnberg, who's lit his hydro and should really know I'm coming, so this has got the potential to be a very stupid thing to do. Come around the corner broadside, and oh joy, he's looking somewhere else. Rounds out, get 1500, most of it, well, 3 penetrations and 1 bounce, which is surprisingly good. Torpedoes into the water, something I'm going to regret later on. Another broadside bags me 5000 with 10 regular pens, and then a final broadside puts the Nürnberg down and renders the torpedoes a waste of ammo. Unfortunately, that Kongu has cleared the corner. It's actually an arpeggio Haruna. The replay system isn't showing that, but he has fired, so while this is not normally a very daijobu move, what I'm going to do is simply turn for cover and run like hell and hope I can get behind that island before he completely reloads the 14-inch guns, which I am just about going to manage to do. Break detection, and then immediately pop up again as we come round the corner to meet... oh, crap. Hi. Right, main battery's empty. Luckily he missed. This will be a perfect time for torpedoes, guys. Point blank range, battleship target, broadside on. Oh wait, we're still reloading. Such misfortune. On the bright side, he's going so fast that his forward guns can't actually track me. Unfortunately, his stern guns are about to come round. Oh my god, this is gonna hurt. And he overpens for 2000 damage into the stern. My tubes reload, 3 out, 3 running, and at this range I can't really miss, can I? 1, 2, and 3, and then a volley of 6-inch to finish him off. So unlucky. So, little bit of a breather while I change my underwear and reload the torpedo tubes. I'm capping A, we've got the Haruna and the Colorado to the south. That Pensacola is tiptoeing around to the southeast. You can actually see his last known position contact. We lost him briefly when he went behind the main island. And oh dear, it's not going too... well, it could be worse. We are 3 ships up at the moment, although I'll let you in on a spoiler, guys. That is about to change very, very quickly. Mostly it comes down to Logosi in the Bliskavica, because he just wrecked one of our New Mexicos. And then Tano C proceeds to wreck our Fubuki, so we're now down to 1 destroyer. And to make life even better, our friends in the battleships are about to clear this headland. Finish the cap, so that's done. Coffee time's over, guys. We need to get back into the fight. Or tea, if you are going with a thematically appropriate beverage, I suppose. So, Colorado at 5.7. He is running more or less parallel. The Haruna's not a viable torpedo shot, despite being an easier ship to get a launch angle on. She's basically going to be out of range. So, lock onto the Colorado instead, get the guns round, get detected as we clear the island. Pray he's not looking at me. He is looking at me. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Torpedoes away and get behind the next island quick before he can get rounds out. Some splashes coming round, take a few hundred hits, so very lucky his main batteries weren't in the game. And again, smoke cover from Hawken plugs the gap and conceals us both. Ouch! Luckily that was just 8-inch from the Pepsi Cola, so happily we don't need to worry too much about that. The shots also went a bit on the high side, only got the 1 bounce. Meanwhile, the torpedoes are steaming nicely towards FEEP 2 in the Colorado. 1 hit, 2 hit, and then Hawkan gets the kill with his Mark 15s. At least I assume that's what he's running, given the kind of ranges he's launching at. I think it's Mark 11s that the early Mayhan gets don't have that kind of range. It's the upgraded torpedoes that finally let the US destroyers start stealth torping at high tier 7. Taken over the hill shot at the Pensacola. Line's good. Unfortunately, the elevation is not. Judged that a bit too short. Didn't get my range right. Hey, it was a bit of a long shot anyway. So, it's down to one Haruna and the Pepsi-Cola in the southwest. The other guys can handle that. We need to start plugging the gap in B because the situation's suddenly far more even than it was. The enemy is some 65 points up. They are one ship down, but they have got 2 control points, so we need to grab B. It's as simple as that, or we need to go on one hell of a killing spree. Poor Promarcos over there has got himself into a bit of trouble. He's just eaten multiple torpedoes, I believe, from the Furutaka of Arto, and while Arto is on dangerously low health, the Koenig, well, those, 11-inch guns on the Koenig aren't the best when it comes to taking a bow-on cruiser. Get a passing shot into the enemy Koenig, just as we're going past the island, and at this point I'm debating my best approach. I can pop out, try to get some shots on Arto. He's only on 300 health, he's going to be an easy kill, but I will have to expose to that Koenig in the process. Rounds from our Koenig go missing, and my own shot, yeah, that's going to land way off. I mean, it was approximately in the same postcode, but they all landed short again, and Arto finishes off Promarcos with the flooding. So I'm not sticking my head out there. I've lost contact with Arto, don't have the spotting data from our now deceased Koenig, and of course if I do break cover to try and find him, I'm going to be under fire from the enemy Koenig of Captain Pitt 65 all the way across that rather large gap of open water, so no thank you, that does not sound like a good plan. Instead, I'm going to remember my objectives and we're going to start playing for B, although you're going to watch me dither for a bit as I make my mind up in the game. What I'll eventually decide to do is put the engines in reverse, bring the rudder round, and essentially do a 3-point turn while I'm concealed from the Koenig. Which is when Tano C shows up. Again, remember the client isn't showing the arpeggio ships in replay mode. We had a Haruna back there that looked like an uncamoed Kongu. The uncamoed Myoko over there under Tano C is actually an arpeggio Ashigara. And the hungry wolf is out for battle, victory, and quite possibly men, who knows. Not that she's going to find too many in this game. I mean, it's all pixels after all, isn't it? So, Maxiganta in the Budioni. He is making an early grab for B. I finally got myself turned around and up to speed behind him. And, well, he's doing an excellent job of trying to get the Koenig's attention, but the Koenig is more interested in the cruiser directly in front of him. It's actually Tano C that is going to cause Maxi some problems. He's working his way round onto the flank. He's got a broadside lined up. That's 10 8-inch guns firing high explosive, and while the enemy are busy disappearing off the radar thanks to a combination of bad lines of sight and cover, Tano C is lining up a kill shot on Maxi. Unfortunately, Tovarish, some things you are not proof against. Meanwhile, I'm eyeing up the Furutaka that we saw earlier. Snapshot out behind cover, but I only need one round to hit. He's only on 300 health. And as it turns out, that was all I got, which leaves me in apparently a straight fight with a same-tier heavy cruiser. Oh, crap. And then the torpedoes show up, which I'm pretty sure he didn't launch. Then again, maybe he did. Myoko does have 2 triple tubes on either side. Pop smoke, buy myself a few quick seconds to think about this, and then immediately get that fire out because, well, I'm invisible for the moment, and the enemy Bliska is also closing in. This guy has caused us some serious trouble. He and Tanosi are basically pretty much entirely responsible for the fact that the enemy is now some 450 points ahead? Yeah, shit. They've got 6 kills between them. Logosi is 1 off a Kraken, and if I'm not very careful, I'm going to be his next victim. Happily, of course, one of the things the British light cruisers excel at with that fast-fused AP of theirs is killing destroyers, so we both know the other is here. I have got my Hydro in play, so I'm not going to lose lock on him, and he knows it, so he's not in a hurry to skip out in front of me, so I'm just going to have to go and get him. Of course, Tano C is also lurking. So, bow towards Tano, try to mitigate the worst of his gunfire. That simultaneously lets me get an early broadside into the Bliska, fire one as he breaks cover, and then line up, put torpedoes in the water just as a failsafe, guns are reloaded, match pointers, rounds out again. Right, that's him done and Kraken denied. Now I do something that is potentially a little stupid. I know the Myoko's just emptied his batteries. I have got about 15 seconds, well 10 seconds now until he reloads. Match pointers with the AP, and one of the problems with Ashigara and all the Myokos is that they've got a very thin hull, so 5 citadels in a volley, thank you very much for that, and then it's a simple matter to finish him off with the second broadside. Had that not worked as planned, I would have been staring down a 10 guns worth of 8-inch armour piercing. Well, you can see what state my health is in, even with a few high X hits, so hehehe. Oh my god, that could have gone so very, very differently. So, 3 ships apiece, and they're 300 points up, and there's less than 5 minutes on the clock. Well, crap. This is not good. Kongo's coming around back, rather Haruno is coming around back to the south in H4, but one of our own ships is pacing her. So what we're going to see in a second, yep, Haruno is most definitely not Daijobu, thanks once again to the torpedoes on a Furutaka. But both Furutaka captains in this game had themselves some pretty decent runs, none of which is of any consolation to me as I'm set on fire again by the Konig. In fact, I've got 2 fires burning, and 3, 2, 1 on the damage control. Start mashing that, or at least that's what I should have done, because amazingly, it takes me several seconds to notice that my damage control has come off cooldown. Yeah, I'd like to say this was a competent display of expert Unicum gaming, but it so really isn't. Anyhow, slam smoke on again, start decelerating. Torpedo launchers are disabled, but that's fine. This is going to be about the guns for the moment. One thing to note with German battleships, and this is a trick that needs to be shouted to the world as I proceed to skid out of my own smoke and catch fire again, is that your best aim point against these girls is actually the upper hull. In this case, where the barbettes for the secondary guns are as an aim point. It's not as thinly armoured. Well, that's a lie. It's not as thickly armoured as the main belt, and German turtleback citadels on their battleships mean that really trying to get a close-range citadel is a waste of time anyway. Of course, I am still on fire, but I'm back in my smoke, so I'm relatively safe provided I don't get an unlucky round whizzing in and slamming out what remains of my 13, 12, 11,000 health. Yeah. Nobody sneeze. On the bright side, we have just grabbed B back, and it's down to 94 points difference. And more to the point, we've got that last battleship on sensors. So, time for a bit of good old-fashioned dirty smoke firing. Again, target the upper belt, and start raining 6-inch AP hell on his bow. Okay, well, fine, my aim was apparently off again, misjudged his velocity, and as a consequence, it's not me who gets the kill. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, proof that in World of Warships, like so many other things, it is much better to be lucky than good. I have really got to work on my gun aiming if I'm going to make much more progress in battleships. I believe with the dynamic crosshair, the tick marks correspond to 1 second of flight time for shells at a 20-knot target, but I could very well be wrong there. Please correct me in the comments if I am. The damage numbers fairly evenly spread. Most of the ships I killed I did pretty solid damage to. The only exception really is Arto in the Furutaka. He got that one unlucky hit that just happened to send him to the bottom after our Koenig had thoroughly worked him over. But the other ships, well, the Ashigara, again, I was lucky, got that monster salvo with 5 citadels. The Faso, well, again, luck, ladies and gentlemen. He was so unfortunate that his aft turrets with those clutch shots at point blank didn't catch my citadel and just send me to the bottom in a couple of seconds. That let me get my portside torpedoes away, and there you have it, 46,000 damage and the kill. 182 main battery hits, and like all high damage games, a Confederate and a high caliber, purely because the only way to get high caliber is to hit that many targets and get Confederate as well. Well, that's a lie actually, you can get that kind of damage with multiple battleship engagements, but they tend not to happen in the mid-tier. I have been Yuzl, that has been probably my best game of the month in the Fiji, and until next time, farewell.